This shiny cheap device does have some interesting specifications with a 2.8-inch IPS with a resolution with 640 by 480, an H700 quad-core CPU with a G31 GPU, only 1GB of LPDDR4, 64GB storage, a maximum of 512GB, but overall when it comes to performance, we will see how it will result in emulation power. Okay, so inside the package we're finding the cable in a separate compartment or tiny box, and having over here the RG28XX manual. And the manual itself, they're doing a great job when it comes to this. I think Anbernic is only one of those companies that do put some effort in it and explaining how everything works and if you have any problems. Of course, we have a great community when it comes to software, but for this just starting up, this is absolutely great. And I think that's one of those key things what makes Anbernic a little bit better than all the other brands. And I mean particularly when it comes to the non-brand weird things they've released in the last couple of times. But let's take a close look at the design itself. And what do I think of it? So first of all, this thing is quite compact. And the downside to that is that when you're actually going to be playing this, the D-pad and everything, you can reach in fairly easy. There is no joystick with this particular model. And of course we're having the shoulder buttons. And the shoulder buttons, they did some improvements over here. You can see there's some minor differences in the height of it. And that's one of the things they keep implementing on newer devices. So it's easier to use them. It's a very high D-pad with a long travel. It do have a very nice feel for it. But does it play very well on the games? That is something we're going to be finding out later on. Volume control, over here we're having the select and start. Then having a tiny speaker, that sounds kind of good. And the ABXY buttons. And they are very tiny. There's a little bit of wiggle to it. You can press them in, they have a very nice feedback. Over here we're having the reset, the on and off switch. And what's kind of cool that we do have over here the USB-C. We're having the manual or the menu button, the menu button and the HDMI mini out, and that's kind of cool. So what you can do actually, you can use this thing as a hybrid device and plugging this thing in television that we're going to be testing out later on. But let's turn it on and let's do a quick peek into the menu and everything else. At the bottom I'm finding the headphone jack and 2 SD cards. Only one has been used, implemented also some files, so we still have the option for a second storage capacity. Okay, the menu, what about that? So when it comes to this, we have seen it with different, let's say, series of the devices. So in here we're finding all of the game rooms, they call it. So this is actually kind of cool that we have all kinds of different, let's say, situations when it comes to emulators. And there is so much that we can actually play with this. All the way to handhelds, 16-bit, 8-bit, the PlayStation 1. Going to the RetroArch or the RA folder, having PlayStation Portable, Open Board, Dreamcast. And these things are absolutely crazy. So for Mame, we still have the limitation of Mame Tekken and Killer Instinct don't work on this. But beside that, there's all kinds of 8-bit and 6-bit stuff that we can play. Yeah, over here, favorites, history. What's kind of cool that we have a tiny screenshot. Search option. So one of the things that is absolutely great. So let's see how fast it actually works. I really love how this thing responds when it comes to the menu and the D-pad. So what's kind of cool that we do have an option to see where it's for. You can see over here, that shows over the GBA. But also shows with a yellow text over there if it's going to be played through RetroArch. So everything is going to be indicated with a screenshot, normal names. There are a lot of double ones over there, but you can see it's going to be switched between the Mega Drive emulator and the RetroArch itself. So that works quite nice. And over here we have the App Center, Music, Video, Ebook, File Manager. So let's see if there's a video on here. Let's see what happens if you're going to be booting up. Okay, there seems to be a preview video. I do wonder if you're going to be using it because, yeah, it's kind of cool to have a media player. They implemented the preview video of the device itself. That's kind of funny. It takes a couple of seconds to get in and out of the... Can we get out of this thing? Okay, there we go. With the menu button up top. Okay, so that's actually how the interface works and what you can all do with it. Let's get into the settings, because with the settings we do have a lot of different things that we can check out. First of all, the battery with the voltage. Beside that, nothing else. Lock screen, brightness control, and the brightness, we have 5 settings for that. I'm going to put it on 3 for now. EO testing, date and time, language, the RetroArch settings over here. So we can just get into the RetroArch and mess around with it. Icon, background settings, button sound can be turned on and off. So let's turn this off. And over here we're having button configuration, firmware version, work light status during sleep, reboot and shutdown. So in there's actually a lot of stuff that we can actually tweak, but let's check out where is the option in the handhelds and let's see what we can actually play with this device. Aircraft carrier is absolutely one of those awesome shmups that you can actually like play now. I can still remember as a child I've been playing this so much on the arcade machine. I was flabbergasted about this, that you can like powering up, getting different power-ups throughout the missions, save up money, survive, get the fuel, actually life and fuel is at the same thing, get much as possible points and survive, get some power-ups, different kind of power-ups, there we go. It's absolutely great and they run so great now on these new generation devices. It's such a blast to the past with this game. Pressing the menu, here we're finding the special menu with a save, load, and even having the option for different kind of, let's say, filters. Having over here the fast, smooth HD scanline 102 that we have seen before. I'm going to be putting it on fast because this is just the original, no filter, no pixel shenanigans, just the original game. I can still remember a couple of years ago that we had like a lot of devices that couldn't even run CPS 3, but we have reached the point that this runs flawlessly on a tiny device like this. Okay, but the next thing is of course checking out how is the D-pad. So it responds absolutely great when it comes to movement. Where I don't love the feel itself at first, this thing plays absolutely amazing. So that's another problem. If I'm going to put my finger on top, it's going to be blocking the audio. So that's a downside. I wish they went for like the stereo stuff, having it at the bottom over here, moving the headphone jack. But overall performance and the display, this looks absolutely great. And I don't really mind that they're using a bezel around it. But moving on to some basic stuff, this runs just perfectly. But yeah, absolutely great to see some Street of Rage being played and run on device like this. Good audio, no problem. I do have this idea that it stutters a little bit when moving around. But I think this is just a thing that is more like a non-emulator issue. Yeah, I think something I saw, but it isn't there. Let's crank up the volume. Nope, doesn't go any louder. So this thing, where this tiny speaker does sound kind of nice. I wish they went for the two, let's say, tiny speakers configuration to have like a louder audio experience. But emulation performance on Mega Drive, so far so good. But let's get into the RedArc and some more demanding stuff. So open bore is not like more demanding, and I think it is, but particularly when it comes to this is absolutely great to have it on a device like this. We have so many weird, like say, games that they actually made throughout the years, and I think this is just a fraction that is out there. But let's play a couple of things, and let's also get into the PlayStation, Dreamcast, and particularly when it comes to the PlayStation Portable. Open bore, what a weird situation this is, but for fun, let's see what they actually made. Using some Street Fighter music. Yeah, this is absolutely cool. I love these weird open bore beat 'em ups. The quality of them are quite good. Holy crap, I'm going to get my ass kicked over here. I do wonder how long it will take to get some Mugen on this, because how cool would that be? Of course we're going to play some Tekken. It's one of the games I love to play. I have some good memories with this game. Oh man, it's absolutely awesome. It would be cool to see that main versions being played or compatible and playable on these devices, because the main version is a little bit better. Let's see if the buttons are being configured correctly. Normally I'm just playing Tekken like this, but it's going to be quite difficult. Oh, I just missed him. But yeah, it's absolutely crazy to see that this runs so good on native resolution. If you're going to be playing through RedArc, with this we do have a different, let's say, quick menu or special menu, where we do have way more that we can actually like mess around with, like GPU plugins, system, video, you name it. Even cheats if possible. You can just check it out over here. So with the RedArc menu do have overall, let's say, better, let's say, more option than the basic one with the just normal game handheld solution. Another cool addition is Sega Dreamcast, with an overall good performance, with many games are running quite well on this. Yeah, it's quite difficult to play with a tiny display. I think it was 2.8 inches. Where this thing is very beautiful and very sharp to look at. It's still quite difficult, I can tell you. Alright, so let's get into game, and you will see we do have like great performance now on Dreamcast with this chipset. I think this lineup of different devices they are releasing, it's great. You can just actually see how navigating through the stage is so easy. So the D-pad is a very high D-pad with a long travel, but it's quite fun to play actually. Pressing the menu over here will give you the quick option to make a save file. Here we can even have the option to play netplay and all the kind of things. That's absolutely awesome. But that's close content, and let's go to the PlayStation Portable. But what is absolutely crazy that we can play PlayStation Portable on a device like this. You do see stutters going on. Pressing the button over here, you can just see that it goes throughout, let's say, RetroArch. And yeah, I don't know exactly what kind of version you're using on the emulator. And in combination with the screen, it's going to be looking slightly different than the normal PlayStation Portable resolution. And also depending what kind of game you're playing, because some of the basic games can be played and run just great on this. But even for Tekken 5, the emulation performance is surprisingly good. But this is absolutely a great example. Trying to play some Metal Slug, this seems to be working just fine. Where we had like this Pandora box thing, arcade board having so many issues with the background and game boxes, you can just see it so far there were no glitches going on. And that's absolutely nuts to see that we're having this tiny device that has the possibility to play PlayStation Portable. Where it's going to be in hit or miss depending what kind of game you want to play. Don't think you're going to be having the option to play some God of War on this. But it's kind of cool, two-dimensional games, you can just see this runs without any problem or even hiccups so far I have seen. Okay, so let's see. So this thing is turned on, has into the RetroArch menu. Let's see if we're going to be plugging this thing in and that it automatically detects. I can see the LED on there, but it doesn't do anything. So the next thing we're going to be doing is closing the content and seeing if we can get out of the software to see if it's going to be recognizing. Yep, there we go. So we need to go out of the game before it's going to be recognized by the system itself. And here you can see it shuts down the display. You can go back to the Metal Slug situation, and or going back to, let's say, a different emulator. That works all fine. Okay, Metal Slug, let's choose it again and let's boot it up. And the next thing I just wanted to see, we do have that OTG port, if I'm saying it correctly, and just plug in a controller and a hub. I will show you what I mean. Okay, so what is kind of cool, so we're having the OTG port, let's see how we can actually use it. So plugging this thing in will give me the indication over here that it's turned on. Let's plug in the controller and let's see if it's going to be shown as player 1 or player 2. And alright, there we go. Does give indication that something is happening. Nothing is happening from that point on. Alright, so can I use this? There we go. So let's restart it. Let's see if it's going to be that I can be used now, because in the menu we did have the option for using this. Or is this going to be the same situation and the shenanigans that I'm going to be needing this to close it? Like with the HDMI functionality, and then I need to basically say, hey, we have this controller going on. See, this doesn't do anything else in the menu. So it is quite limited when it comes to this. Let's plug it back in. Let's see, is it have like different results, but nope, so far. It's kind of weird, like in the RetroArch menu, it did have the option to basically do something. But yeah, that is kind of interesting, but also kind of strange and disappointing. So it's not a plug and play situation over here. The next thing that we can do is going to the controls and see if we can mess around with something over here. Settings, video inputs, users 5, we have all kinds of things. Let's say put control port in here, D-pad up, D-pad down. But the major problem is we're having with this is that we do have the option, and the problem that we not fixing this because we're going to be changing this out. So let's say we're going to be just a simple solution. Let's let's put it in the different configuration. Just going to be configuring the buttons and select and start, just to see what happens if we're going to be doing this. Okay, let's go back. Let's go to the game itself, or the main menu. And now we can actually use the controller. Okay, so let's get into the game itself and see if we can do... But that's the question, can we still use the controls here? So no. So what you can actually do is configure this as player 2 and this as player 1. So let's go to the menu and let's fix my issue, because this is not the way I want to use it. Because now I can't use my controls on this device anymore. So yeah, that is not going to be a good thing. Inputs, player 1 controllers. So yep, let's fix that first. But after unplugging it, it went back to normal, so we can just start the game up again. But let's do a quick teardown, what to see what in the inside. So the first thing I love about Anbernic, they're using these tiny M-bus screws to give it more like an overall quality feeling. So by opening it up, yeah, it's going to be very easy. I don't even need it any to I didn't even have like any pry tool needing so far. I could just rip it open, and I wasn't even trying to be very gentle, but okay. I do need a pry tool. Yep. Watcha! And let's try to open it up. This is just a tiny difficult way to, let's say, tear down this thing and to keep it in one piece. Okay, so all of the freaking tiny plastic buttons are falling out. Oh man, this is going to be a nightmare. Like putting this thing back together. It's like so laughable to see how small this thing actually is. But what's kind of cool, that this thing does have a rumble motor in the inside. And the speakers over here and everything, or at least like the speaker can be replaced. The same goes for the battery. That is something that of a great situation they did. And if you're going to be removing tiny screws over here, you can even flip it open and remove the LCD display. But this is the thing we're getting when it comes to the inside of the Anbernic device. Yeah, this is absolutely fascinating. Having a 3100 mAh battery. Okay, let's put this thing by the way together, because oh man, this is going to be absolutely a nightmare with all the micro switching. Oh jeez, what did I do? That is what I say and think sometimes. It's absolutely crazy what they can make nowadays, particularly when it comes to the overall quality, the displays, and also just the audio and the emulation performance. Anbernic is maybe one of the better devices that you can get for your money, but is it really something you should pick up? That is also one thing you can only decide. The RG28XX is not for everyone, and that is simple to do because this thing is it's super compact, but it's not very easy to, let's say, play all of your games because of the multiple menus, and of course having all kinds of, let's say, situation when it comes to form factor and comfortability. Thank you all for watching, consider subscribing, hit that little bell, and it will be great to see you in the next video.